Okay, so my name is Sarah Leeds, and I work at the Idaho Coalition Against Sexual and Domestic Violence. And I'm actually somewhat new there. I've been there about 6, 7 weeks, but I've been involved with the coalition for probably 8 to 10 years in some way or another, working on contracts and grants they have. And also the coalition is a supporting structure organization for domestic violence and sexual assault programs. And so I come to Boise from Pocatello. I ran the domestic violence and sexual assault crisis line and shelter over there for 10 years. And so lots and lots of work with people who've experienced teen dating violence. Everybody, BSU students, right? What kind of majors are we looking at? All this criminal justice or any psychology? Okay. Sociology? Okay. How many people want to go into work with victims of crime? Well, good. Well, so today I've got a few objectives, and hopefully it's not just me up here talking to you. I have a little bit of work for you guys to do. I want us to be able to define adolescent relationship abuse and sexual assault by the time you walk out here, describe recent statistics and trends in adolescent relationship abuse and teen dating violence. And then I want to also give you a balcony approach, and hopefully you'll understand this balcony approach, a comprehensive approach to adolescent relationship abuse and sexual assault that very wide collaborative organization or a group of people have put together for high schools and middle schools here in Idaho. And then I also hope you could maybe list the steps to the model policy. This model policy we'll talk about for the prevention and response that we hope schools will adopt. So a little bit about who we are as the Idaho Coalition Against Sexual and Domestic Violence. We are a statewide nonprofit organization. Under the umbrella of the coalition, we have what we call a Center for Healthy Teen Relationships. And that is a wide group of people and organizations that have come together because we know adolescent relationship abuse is such a problem for youth in our country and around the world. We want to address that in a very multidisciplinary approach. And so we have researchers from BSU like Dr. Bostaff. We have the Department of Health and Welfare. We have programs around the state who deal with victims of crime like domestic violence shelters. If you're from here in Boise, programs like the WCA. And also lots of allied partners, schools, the Department of Education, the Idaho Department of Education, consultants in public health and prevention. And so those are our partners, and we do a lot of work around domestic violence and adolescent relationship abuse. So what exactly is adolescent relationship abuse anyway? Anybody have ideas about it? I know, I'm sure you do. There's some of the obvious stuff, like, so we've got the very real physical hitting, punching, kicking, slapping. And then that's really what we call teen dating violence and sexual assault and rape. And then we are very much moving to the term adolescent relationship abuse because there's this spectrum of behaviors and experiences that are very abusive but aren't necessarily at all physical, but also induce fear and trauma to the victim. So emotional abuse, especially with adolescents, name calling, controlling behaviors with their partners. Anybody want to give me some examples of what an adolescent might be experiencing? Right. Did everybody hear what she said? She talked about controlling behaviors, like always needing to be around your partner, always needing to know where they are, nonstop texting that's really making you uncomfortable. Where are you? What are you doing now? Those kinds of behaviors. And sexual assault, unwanted touching, unwanted sexual contact, all the way to rape. And then there's stalking behaviors that are they're sort of encompassed in all those other behaviors, but then stalking in and of itself is its own crime. So, and stalking can be done with or without the use of technology. And if you were listening to Jennifer, you probably got a whole earful of how someone can be stalked. And it's generally quite terrifying. Just to lay some groundwork, as we talk about adolescent relationship abuse, 72% of 11 to 14-year-olds report having a boyfriend or a girlfriend. 72% of 11 to 14-year-olds. I think that's a pretty high number. What do people feel about that? Or looking back on your own experience? Junior high, so 6th, 7th, 8th grade. And keep in mind that this encompasses whatever they call boyfriend, girlfriend. So it could be, we don't even look at each other when we're in class, but we text, but we've decided that we're boyfriend or girlfriend. But the important part of the statistic is that this is kind of developmentally appropriate for adolescents. What's going on in their brain is that those romantic relationships are really they need those to sort of start defining who they are as an adult or who they're moving toward as an adult. And so this is a time when they're making that transition from being a child to being adult, and that long span of time that is what we think of now, and probably even back then, as awkward. But really what they're doing is really trying to mimic adult behavior and have adult-type relationships, whatever those might look like to them. I want to talk a little bit, too, about what's going on in their brain. Because this is a time when the cerebral cortex in an adolescent brain is really starting to develop, and what's going on is they're being able to think abstractly and reflect more on things, and they're moving. Everything is very extreme. If we look back on our own adolescence, or if we have children who are adolescents, think of when they come home, or when we came home, and something happened and it's the end of the world. Remember that, and how those feelings are so powerful, and you tell your parent, or if you're listening to that, you think, this is not a big deal. But to them, it is really the end of the world. Those feelings are very powerful, very real, experiencing jealousy, pressure to conform to what's going on around them. And research shows that this is a real critical time in prevention of relationship abuse, because as we can start talking to them about relationships, getting them to talk about relationships, what a healthy relationship looks like and what an unhealthy relationship looks like, we can really plant the seeds for when they are moving through their dating relationships and figuring out what they want. We're planting the seeds of they can expect something better, they can expect respect, they can expect a relationship that's equal. So this is a really, really important time. Okay, so a little more about the scope of the problem. This is from the 2013 Idaho Youth Risk Behavior Survey. And these are some of the statistics that are our most recent statistics. These are the percentage broken out by ninth grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, and 12th grade. And then in the very first two columns we have the overall total. But this is the percentage of students who reported physical violence. So reported ever being hit, slapped, or physically hurt on purpose by their boyfriend or girlfriend in the past 12 months. And so we're looking at 9.4% of girls in 9th grade and 4.4% of boys, 12.6% of girls, 11.5% of 11th grade girls, 12.9% of 8th grade girls. And we're seeing boys reported as well. So we've got 6.7% of boys in 12th grade reporting adolescent or physical violence. So 1 in 5 women and nearly 1 in 7 men who experience rape, physical violence, or stalking by an intimate partner experience some form of violence between the ages of 11 and 17. So really and this really rings true for when, as I step back to working with victims in a local program, when we talk to adult victims of domestic violence and women who come into our shelter and men who experience violence, many times they report it started with the relationship in their adolescence. Okay, so here's some Idaho Youth Risk Behavior Survey. The percentage of Idaho high school students who had ever been forced to have sexual intercourse when they did not want to. 12th grade girls, we're looking at 21.1% and 6.9% of boys. In 11th grade, 9.8% of girls and 4.8% of boys. Overall, we're looking at 12.7% of girls and 4.1% of boys. And just taking the girls alone, anybody from Pocatello? Does everybody know the Holt Arena, the Pocatello, the mini dome for football over there? If we just took those 12.7% of girls this year, we would more than half fill that mini dome with high schoolers. who are experiencing forced sexual intercourse. And so it's my understanding that the people who do the Youth Risk Behavior Survey are trying to change that question so that we have a little bit better data of what's going on with and understand what's going on peer-to-peer. Because that's really what we want to know about them. Of course, we want to know and help the people who have experienced child sexual abuse, but we really, for our purposes in this work, are looking at that peer-to-peer abuse. Okay, but there's good news. Our statistics have been going down, and really Idaho we are really leading the nation in the work of prevention for adolescent relationship abuse. And so we can really be proud in Idaho of what we're doing. And we're really one of just a few states that are seeing drops in the numbers of teens reporting relationship abuse and sexual assault. So we're doing some good work, and it'll be good when you guys join the field and help us out with this. So Idaho high school students reporting that they've experienced forced sexual intercourse has dropped. In 2007, we were up at 10.5% of students who were surveyed reporting. Went down to 9.6 2 years later in 2009, 8.8 in 2011, and now we're down to 8.3 in 2013. Physical violence by a dating partner, we're seeing an overall downward trend. In 2007, 13.6%, to 10.6% in 2009, 8.7 in 2011, and in this past year, it bumped up a little bit to 9.1%, and the Youth Risk Behavior Survey researchers are saying that's not really a statistically significant increase. And so I guess we're not too worried about that. If in 2 years, in 2015, we see it going up a little bit more, I think then we'll be concerned.